Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Snap Decisions. I am here with Kiernimbus. I have another guest this week, which is awesome. Thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate it, man. I was watching some of your videos. I saw you were in a tournament, which definitely want to talk about that with you today because that
Oh,
looks
sure,
really
sure.
cool. I've never done that, but welcome in, man. And how long have you been playing Snap now?
So I got it the day of the global release. I was not a
Nice.
beta player by any means, but yeah, man, I've really enjoyed it so far. I used to be a huge Hearthstone player, and
Okay,
as soon
makes
as Marvel
sense.
Snap was announced, I was like, you know what, this is the next best thing, and so it was. It's incredible. I love it.
Nice. Now, did you follow? I know a lot of people that got in on the bait and got in early and were Hearthstone players. Did you follow Ben Brode over as well? Is that kind of
Oh
what
yeah.
interest? Okay.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Believe
Yeah.
me, Ben Brode. You can say a million things about him, but he is extremely charismatic when he talks about the games that he's making. And yeah, I had a lot of high hopes for this game.
Yeah. I played Hearthstone a little bit. I was a big World of Warcraft player. So having all the Blizzard games and stuff like that downloaded on the PC, and when Hearthstone first came out, I'm like, yeah, this kind of looks pretty cool. And I played it for a little while. But then I kind of got out of it. And but yeah, I could see where a lot of people would want to come from that game. It's a little similar in ways, I would say.
Yeah.
But did you come for the are you a Marvel fan? So did you come for that too?
Oh yes.
Nice.
I'm a huge Marvel fan. I have
Nice.
to say, my comics collection is probably not nearly as impressive as yours, but
Hey, it's all good. I had a lot of a head start on you, I think.
oh yeah. Believe me, when I was younger, there were still a couple of comic book shops around, so it was a really big pleasure to be able to go and read those. I still have a mint condition Venom comic, which I'm
Nice,
very excited to own. But yeah, huge
nice.
fan. I obviously watched through all the MCU, and I also was a big fan of the Spider-Man TV show when I was younger. So
Okay, you talking the animated series, the '90s one? Okay,
yes.
nice. Yeah, that's cool. I actually own I own a piece of so I have an animated cell. It's actually right up above me on my desk. I have an animated cell that Stan Lee actually signed. So I have an autographed Stan Lee animated cell from that '90s series. There's a
That's
picture
really
of him
cool.
signing it underneath too. So it's a really cool piece.
Yeah, the only thing that I have from Stan Lee is he signed a piece of Jim Lee art,
Oh,
and I have
nice.
that in a frame in my living room, and it's really cool. It's a piece of history, and
Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome. I was kind of close to I went to a Comic-Con. So I went to New York Comic-Con. Oh my gosh, probably maybe had to be about 13 years ago, 12, 13 years ago. And he was there.
Sure.
I was able to see him, but the floor was so crowded and he had such a line of people around him waiting, I guess, for
Oh
autographs
yeah,
and stuff.
yeah,
I'm a little bit taller, so I was able to kind of see over. So it was cool to get a glimpse of him. But yeah, that was an experience. I would tell anyone to go, but it is very crowded.
yeah.
So, well, that's cool, man. I'm glad to see that you're a Marvel fan. I like to. One of the things I thought would differentiate me maybe a little bit, because there are so many great creators out there, like yourself and so many others. I thought maybe, yeah, bring a little comic lore into it because I don't hear
Oh
people
yeah.
talk about it that much. Yeah, I've been reading comics since, my gosh, the late early to mid to late '70s.
Oh
So
yeah.
I wish I had them all. I really do. My mom got rid of a lot of them, unfortunately, growing
Oh
up.
yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, man. What are Venom? You talking Todd McFarlane Venom, like '90s back in
Um.
the early Venom? Okay,
Yeah. It's the original Venom comic run. I think it's issue number 37, if I'm not
nice.
mistaken.
Okay, nice.
It's really cool. I would grab it now, but that's a walk, and I'm not wearing any pants.
Ah, it's
This
all
suit
good.
is all for show. It's all
That's
for
it.
show.
Dude, I like it. I like the jacket. I like the colors. I like the presentation you have.
Thank you.
I go into that a little bit. I was watching like I said, let's get into that tournament. I did hear about that tournament that you were in, and I thought,
Yes.
oh, this is awesome. And then I saw that you played in it, so I was kind of watching some of your videos from it and stuff like that. So, where did you hear about the tournament, and what made you want to get into that?
Yeah, so it was hosted by Fiona Shade Stories, and I'm a huge Marvel nerd, but also a huge D&D nerd. So
Nice.
when I
Yeah.
found a server that does both D&D and Marvel Snap, you know that I wanted to be a part of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, she posted on her Twitter that she was hosting a tournament to support LGBTQIA plus people, and I just thought that it was the sweetest thing. I don't think we've really had a tournament that that does that on its own for Marvel Snap yet, so I really wanted to be a part of it, and I actually got pretty lucky. They initially had their slots full, and she was like, you know what, if anybody leaves, you can hop in, and actually there was. So I got in at the last minute, and yeah, it was a really great experience.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I watched through some of your games. I saw you play Browday, and I'm like, oh boy.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
gonna be tough.
That guy is so scary. I mad respect to him, by the way.
Definitely.
He's a trooper in the content creator space,
Yep.
and yeah, he's very talented as well.
Yeah. Some of these guys that just, I mean, I've watched, so I've taken so many of these in. Like when I started to play, I didn't realize so much of it was out there, and then I saw all the creators that were doing it. I'm like, all right, how do you get better? Well, you watch a lot of this stuff, right? These guys know what they're doing. So I was watching, Cozy, KM Best. I love Alex Kocha. Love Alex's streams. He just seems like a really down to earth kind of cool dude.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I have to say, I've learned a lot of gameplay from all these guys, but Browday there's a reason why he enters a lot of those things, and he's in a lot of those tournaments.
In the most recent vote that they did for the what is it?
The Clash or whatever it was.
Yes, yeah. It was like the champion. I forget the name of it, but it was the biggest like official tournament that was held recently. I voted for Browday because he beat me, and I was like, you know what? I got to respect it. But Lambie is also super scary. I don't want to face that guy.
Goodness gracious. I'll tell you why. I've kind of got a lot of respect for him as a player, obviously, as well. He's really good, but he really gets into the psychology of the game, which is cool. I've seen some videos he does, and I wish I could remember he's on a stream with another player, but I can't remember his name, but he was the one who spoke about he's not getting angry, like not letting the game get to you. And I love that video because I had that happen. The closest I ever got to infinite, I hit 99. Was the closest I ever got one season about 3-4 seasons ago. And I remember I hit 99, and then I was so anxious to, you're sitting there like, I'm sitting there like literally, I'm a grown man, and I'm like shaking, trying to get through this game. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get, and then I lost, and then I lost again, and then I lost again. And then I'm like, I'm mad. I'm like, all right, I just have to stop this. I have to win at least one game. It was late at night, which I know I shouldn't probably play late at night anyway, because you're not focused.
It's a tale as old as time. So many bad signs on you there.
Dude, it was so bad. And I lost like 12 straight things. I went down to almost 83 by the time I was done, and that was it. I couldn't get back up. And I'm like, but I watched that stream, and he talked a lot about that. He's like, you can't do that. Like if you lose a game or two, step away, like walk away from it, because you're going to get that way. Did you ever find yourself in situations like that with it?
I mean, I'll tell you that, off stream, I was finding it really difficult during the November into December season, trying to make content, only because I was losing a lot. And it's one of those things that's like, well, I can make it entertaining, but I do feel that I don't know, maybe it's the game, maybe it's me, but whenever I get on a losing streak, it just puts me in a really bad mood. And it's really hard for you to climb out. I also watched that video, and I also found it helpful. I think it's a really insightful one. I encourage anybody that's listening to this to go check it out. It's a really great way to put yourself in a frame of mind. This is a game, and winning is not the only condition in this game. Retreating is also winning. So
100%. I love how he said that. He's like, when you retreat on a 1 cube, you're still winning. It's still, and you don't think that way. And now I've been running this crazy Galactus deck that I saw from Interrobang. Me and him with Galactus. Him and I are like, I have more Galactus cards in this game, I think, than any other card in this entire game. And the reason being, well, twofold. I love the character, and I've read comic books of his back in the in the 70s and 80s. But he was really the first big bad I pulled. So when they were first announced and they were there, okay, these are going into caches and stuff like that, and then the odds of getting one were so slim back then. Like they were one in, I don't even know how many they were. And I remember going, getting ready for work in the morning. I'm just messing around with the game, and I get to a cache and I crack it open, and I'm like, oh my God, I wanted Thanos because I'm a big Thanos fan. But then I saw Galactus pop up and I'm like, oh, what? I got Galactus. Man, do I wish I would have known that he worked as well as he did back then, because I probably would have been hitting Infinite every single season, because probably one of the only ones who had it. But I was like, I'm reading the thing and I'm like, this doesn't sound good. Like, why would you want to blow up the other two locations? And then I saw people that start to like, oh yeah, now I get it. And then the whole Spider-Man thing happened where you lock the other player out. Like,
gosh, bad memories.
Yeah, that was really oppressive.
I really respect Galactus players, because after the nerfs, it's like, you're really putting everything into this deck.
Yeah.
It used to be the case where I felt that Galactus was too easy for the reward.
Yep.
Now I feel it might be a little too hard. I think it's pretty tough.
He put that deck out, and Terabang did, and then Prashant just adjusted it a little bit because Ms. Marvel was in there, and then Prashant took her out because of the nerf. And then he put in Jeff, and I added just a couple days ago, I thought, let me mess around with Quake. So I put Quake in that spot. Well, let me tell you, I've been getting a lot of 8-cube wins with just Quake. Like,
I love Quake too.
Seriously getting 8-cube wins with this, and I have now worked myself from I started this season all the way down. It was all the way down to 30, all the way back down to 30, because I don't play much ladder. I'd get frustrated with it, and I'm like, So I started at 30. I'm now up to 86 or 87, and all with that deck. I've played nothing but really Galactus. So yeah, that's why I posted today. I'm like, could I actually get to Infinite with a Galactus deck during this meta? But you know what I found? It's really good against Blob. Really good against Blob. And it's really good too against High Evo. You wouldn't think it would be, but it actually is. So you blow up those lanes that they're going to stick their Hulk in and stuff like that, get goblins on the other lane, and you win. So
yeah.
What have you been playing this month? I'm curious, because I know so many people, and we'll get to this, but I know so many people are not happy with the current meta, the state of it, with the oppressive Blob stuff and the Thanos meta, and now I'm seeing a little bit of move kind of going around with Kingpin and things like that. So it does seem like it changed up a little bit, but I'm wondering if I saw a lot over the weekend, and people would maybe just doing their weekend missions and stuff with the move. I'm not exactly sure how good it is, but what have you been playing lately during all this crazy meta?
Yeah, so what's crazy is on my podcast, I call myself a meta hipster all the time, which really just means I really don't like the popular stuff, and I don't know what it is about me. I see something's popular, I'm like, everybody's doing that. Yeah. I got to do something terrible. So I also made a Thanos list, but it uses Mojo and Dazzler as my power points. I don't have a Blob in there. I have an 8-power Dazzler instead. But I've also been playing Black Knight a ton. I was a huge Black Knight enjoyer before.
That's a fun card.
Yeah, it's really great there. But now that he's so popular, I'm like, man, I'm struggling on the inside. I don't know if I like this card now.
Yeah.
But in terms of like original decks, I've been playing a Spectrum list in the meantime. It uses Man-Thing and Luke Cage to lock down one lane, and then it uses Wong and Spectrum in another, and it just boosts the board a ton. So that one's actually been a pretty consistent winner for me. I only really get beat by like big Blob decks because they just go so tall. But everything else I have a pretty decent shot against. So those are sort of things that I've been doing.
That's cool, man. Man-Thing's my boy. He is literally my favorite Marvel character, and that's from, again, when I was probably, 7 or so. They used to make years ago things called, they were called book and records. They were comic books that came with a record, so a 45 record that came with them, and it was technically an audiobook. Like today's version of what was an audiobook that you play the record, they'd voice over the characters from the comic book. So they would have voice actors that would act out, and they'd have some, really corny kind of special effects that they'd stick in there. But yeah, I was introduced to that character at a very young age, and the book was probably not a book I necessarily in this day and age give to a 7 or 8 year old. It was a Man-Thing did a lot of horror kind of stuff back in the day. was
Oh
very
yeah.
similar to like Werewolf by Night and Dracula and stuff like that too. It was literally the front cover of the book has him holding a clown in his arms, walking through the swamp, and here the whole story was about a circus clown who goes and commits suicide. The very beginning of the book.
Oh
And
my
I'm like,
goodness.
I said, Mom, what were you thinking? Did you look at this book when you bought this for me back then? But yeah, it's literally, and to this day, I own the comic. I still have the book and record. And from then on, it's just like, I don't know. I just love Man-Thing. And then he appeared in Spider-Man every now and then. And
Oh
he
yeah.
was in Hulk and stuff
I,
like that. Now he was in the MCU, which oh my gosh. When I saw he was in Werewolf by Night, I'm like, this is absolutely fantastic.
Oh yes.
Fantastic. Yeah. So that's great that you're using that. When the card came out, I was thrilled. When I saw him come out, I'm like, yes, they finally get my boy in the game. I absolutely love that. So when I was watching you in the tournament, I noticed that when, to your point about playing like different decks, I noticed you were doing that with, now you did have the Patriot list, but I noticed that you were playing the list with Crossbones in that too.
Yes.
And I'm thinking to myself, I have never seen that list played. I literally have never seen that list. And you actually, you won some games with it. So it actually did well for you. So that's good.
Yeah. That deck in particular is a really, I don't know. It's a weird case because I am going to tell you right now, it is not a good deck. It is a mishmash of some of my favorite cards in the game. But what it is a deck that I've played a ton of. Yes. So that's the only list I've ever made it to Infinite with. I made it to Infinite in the October season with that list. And it's the whole gimmick is Ghost Rider and Lady Sif moving the Infinite. And then the others are sort of some mid-range cards. But yeah, I gotta say, I brought it in there because I was comfortable with the list, and I think it paid off.
That's a great point you bring up, though, because I think a lot of it is, and players that are listening to this, comfortability is a big thing. It really, really is. And that's what I've noticed. And that's probably why I'm doing well with the Galactus deck, because I'm so used to playing Galactus decks over the course of time. Now they've changed, and you don't have that easy win and stuff like that you used to get. But I know now when I need to get out. If I see something happening, I'm like, nope, this is not going to work. I'm out. I can't win. So you're right. That's a good point. When you're, and that's a lot of, I'll go on and I'll see lists that are meta lists. Okay. And I'm like, all right, let me, try to use one of these. And I find it, while they'll win for me, they're not very consistent, even though they're winning decks. And then I find myself asking, saying to myself, well, why aren't these winning? This is a meta deck. But you're right. It's because I'm not comfortable playing it and I don't know the play lines. And even though it's a good deck, so a lot of times this is a good thing to say to people who are listening to the show too. A lot of times when you see these lists that these creators will share, and they'll, a lot of them will share like top 10 decks and all that kind of stuff. Don't necessarily think you can plug that in and say, all right, here we go. I'm going to start winning now because this is a top 10 deck. It doesn't work that way.
Yep. Yeah, no, I actually really agree with that because, it's one of those things where I call myself a meta hipster and I don't like popular stuff, but really what it comes down to is you can win with anything in this game. Yeah. That is true. This game is unique in that you don't have to have the best deck in the world to still have a positive cube rate. Yep. All you need to do is know when your deck snaps and you just do it. Yep. I think Lambie also spoke on that, right? When you're playing a Thanos list and you get the Mind Stone, you snap. Yep. That's a way to get more stones. That's how you get your deck going. Yep. I think if you find those sweet spots for your own deck, you're going to be extremely successful. Yep. In my case, I've used that deck since I got Ghost Rider in Pool 3. That's the deck. I have not changed a single card in there. And, it's pretty incredible for me, at least. I definitely won't say put Crossbones in your decks, especially considering some of the new cards that are coming out. Geez Louise. But
oh my goodness.
But yeah, no, it's a good point of advice. So I think it's good to bring up.
So, would you call yourself a casual player, or would you call yourself like, playing like a lot more? I kind of always say I'm definitely a casual. I mean, I would love to
Mhm.
play it more than I do, but of course I work in retail, so I've got a job. I'm at that, 5 days a week out of 7, and when I'm there, I can't touch the game and stuff like that unless I'm on lunch. So I'm definitely a casual. And when I got away from ladder, I played way more conquest
Oh
than
yeah.
I probably played ladder. So I kind of dig the conquest stuff. There's not as much at stake there.
Mhm.
And so, would you consider yourself a casual player? Or do you play a lot more than that?
So I guess it's a hard definition for me.
It
I'd say
is.
I'm a casual in that, yeah, I'm not but besides the Rainbow Snap Clash tournament, I'm not
Yeah.
entering the top tournaments. I'm not
Yeah.
studying tournament footage in order to
Yeah.
improve or max min my stuff. And honestly, I play Dazzler and Crossbones, which probably isn't helping me elevate my status.
Yeah.
But I think I am a what it so how can she snap says that they're filthy casuals.
Filthy casual. I love those guys.
Yes, I love them
They
too.
crack
Yes.
me up, man. They have so much fun on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
filthy casuals.
I would say I'm a filthy casual, right? I play the game a lot. I'm really into it, but man oh man, does do my deck stink sometimes.
Yeah, I've experimented with some stuff like that too, and just like favorite cards, like you were saying. I remember when I got Man Thing, I'm like, all right, what can I stick Man Thing into? And I remember putting him in an awful deck, and it just did not work whatsoever. You just lose and lose. But when you do that and you go into, let's say you go into proving grounds with it, who cares? You can
Yeah.
mess around with anything in there, and it just doesn't matter. While we're on that topic, I want to go over that. I have to get into the subject with you a little bit because what are your thoughts on? So you're playing Conquest
Mm,
and you're going into Proving Grounds, and this, oh my god, if you want to talk about something that really gets on my nerves when I go in there, if I go in there and I'm playing against someone who's playing a meta deck, so they're playing a
yep.
blob deck or they're playing high evo, and then they don't snap and they play the whole damn game out, and I'm like, come on. I'm like, first of all, what are you
Yeah.
doing going in there with a
Yeah.
meta deck in the first place? You know this is a proven winning deck. If that's the case, man, go play for some tickets. Go play silver. Go play gold. Whatever the case might be, that's what it should be. I kind of look at proving grounds as a testing thing. I mean,
Yeah.
you feel the
Yeah.
same way?
No, yeah, I definitely feel that. And if I'm not mistaken, one of the developers even mentioned like the reason that they don't have a test mode where you can play against computers because they
Yes.
feel that Proving Grounds is actually a better way to do that.
Yep.
And I tend to agree. What's surprising to me is net decking is a term that's used when people get the best deck and they play it out, and to each their own, but I definitely don't feel like it's as satisfying to me
Yep.
to go and just copy what is considered the best deck and then go into a game like Proving Grounds. I don't find that enjoyable at all. I
Yep.
actually think if you're doing that, you're making it so easy on yourself to
Yep.
get the silver
I
tickets.
said, yeah,
But
right.
some people like winning, and
Yeah, true.
what can you do about that?
Yeah, that's true. I guess people just they're in it to win it no matter what part of the game they go into. Yeah,
That's
you're
right.
probably right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if they would rename that, even if they took Proving Grounds away from there and renamed it, like, let's say they renamed it Practice Mode or something along those lines,
Sure.
that you
Yeah.
would think people might, oh, okay, this isn't going to, like, this is nothing. I'm not doing this anymore. So a lot of people are even talking about now where they're thinking that they should remove the silver tickets altogether and just go straight to
I have
gold.
heard that take. I have heard
Yeah,
that take. Yeah, because I
yeah,
mean, silver is an awkward spot where it really doesn't test the metal of your deck, but it's
true.
also not casual. So it's
Yep.
it's an awkward spot. I
Mm,
hear what you're saying.
I agree. I agree. All right. Well, let's go into. I wanted to talk about. Let's go into the roadmap a little bit. I haven't gotten a chance to talk about this with anybody yet. I know it's been out for a little while, but I
Mm,
figured I would go over it a little bit with you tonight and just kind of, go down the list and see like what is exciting to you, what you're really looking forward to, as far as what's the coming. We'll do the coming soon list, the in development list, and the in concept list. And for those who are watching, I apologize. I did have these slides ready, but of course things happened and they are not here. So I'm going to be looking at my phone as we go over these. So I apologize, and of course to you, Kier, as well.
no,
It's
it's
just
not an issue.
it's a
You're
slip up
good.
on my part. But so let's go over this. So coming soon, we've got, first off, there's character mastery. Now, the way I kind of took this and you could see the little pictures they put out of those little emote kind of things that show up when
Yeah.
you've got the characters and everything. I'm looking at this like, okay, like we were talking earlier about the Galactus thing. I have literally every Galactus variant, all of them. So I would imagine that constitutes you having character mastery with that particular card. Okay. So, and then I guess you're going to have those little tiny stamps that they show on the characters or with the characters or something like that they're going to have, right?
Yeah. So from my understanding, this is the information that I've absorbed through a couple of things that the developers have said about it is, so if you have a lot of variants, we don't know the full scope of it yet, but that contributes to the character mastery. And then there's also some challenges that you can do to get more character mastery.
I've heard that.
And then once you do that, you unlock those little emotes, and those will replace the little second dinger onion thing when you emote on locations or cards.
Nice. Okay.
So like when you see a weird world and you're like, damn, that sucks, you can give a Galactus going, bummer.
Nice.
Which is unique. It means that you've proven that you've adored this card. In my case, for whatever reason, I guess I'm going to be the Agent 13 master because I have so many Agent 13s. But yeah, that's what I gained from it anyway.
At least it'll get. I think I heard them talking about this on oh my gosh, the Born to Be Cosmo podcast. I think I heard them talking about this a little bit, and it might have been Zombies who mentioned on there saying that it almost seems as if like you might have some extra missions to do, right? They might say, okay, you want mastery on this totally, you're going to need to put Galactus in a deck, let's say, and win 5 games with this card, or do this with this card, or something like that. So I imagine that they'll have like little things which is kind of cool. It's another thing, I guess, for people to do. Like if you're casual and you can't really, maybe you're kind of bored with ladder or conquest, it's going to give you just a little bit extra to do other than those little side missions. So I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think it's it'll add a new dynamic to Marvel Snap, right? Where if you're on ladder and you see some guy going for just the most ridiculous combo in the world, you'll be like, okay, he's probably doing a character mastery thing. But I would also guess that it's really going to depend on how hard these challenges are.
Yes.
I hope that they're reasonable, but if they're another thing that takes another 2 to 3 months, I might get sick of it.
Yeah, I can totally see that. And we've had some things that they've done recently that haven't exactly lived up to expectation. I know I was a little disappointed with the albums that came out. In fact, on one of my shows, I kind of went off a little bit about them. I didn't like how they did that. It was like you're advertising emotes. Everybody's excited about the emote, so how do I get one? And then you come up and you see that you need all of these cards, and it's not just 1 or 2, it's all of them. And I have a good amount of Dan Hips, and then here comes the Dan Hip album, and I'm like, I still need like 7 cards in this album. So that was a bit disappointing. So I can see that. In fact, the next one down, segue, is album improvements. So I'm hoping that and it does kind of seem like from what they said, that they kind of realized what they did here. And it seems as if they want to correct that and make these a little bit easier to get, which I really hope they do.
Yeah, it sounds like that they're going to be introducing what they're calling parent albums.
Okay.
So you'll have like a category of Dan Hip. And you'll have all these mini albums in it where you have like the ongoing Dan Hips that we have, but you also have like, on reveal Dan Hips and other categories of Dan Hips. And the more you collect in the parent album, you'll get literal rewards. And if you complete one of the, the child albums, then you'll get those big rewards like the emotes and other things. And then I assume if you complete the whole thing, you'll probably get something cool too.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. Because I kind of think, I have one of them. I have the Cosmo one. I did finish the Dan Hip album. So you have the Cosmo emo. Do you have any of the emotes?
No. Yeah. Like I said, if they had an Agent 13 category, I'd be.
You would imagine an Agent 13 album. That'd be awesome. Yeah, I was lucky enough to, like I said, I had enough of them, and then I saw a few of them pop up in the store, and I'm like, at least they're only 700 gold ones. They're not the 1200 gold
Sure,
super
yeah.
rare ones. Like when the Gala came up, I'm like, no way,
Oh my
I am
gosh.
not touching that. No way. I'm like, there
That
is,
spelled so much
oh,
bad news.
agreed. I got the Doctor Doom because I thought the Doctor Doom was cool with the
Oh,
hoodie.
yeah.
But other than that, I'm like, I'm not touching that. And even the Venomized ones, like I thought I had a decent amount of Venomized ones. None of the ones I had are on that list. I think I had
Yep.
2. And I'm like,
Yep.
oh my gosh, come on. So, but I don't know, man. I think the emo thing is cool. I really want the Galactus one. I don't know what they're going to do to give you that, but I want it.
I want the Infinite one personally. I love the Infinite. I'm
The
so happy
Infinite
what they
one
did
is
with
awesome.
in
Yeah.
Snap. But yeah, that'll be really cool. Hopefully, like I said, it's not a chore and it's something fun to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Coming soon. Also, they have in-game events. In-game event. What do you think this means? I mean, I don't think they can do. I don't think it'd be weekend missions because they have that already. But what could an in-game event be? Because unless they want to do like tournaments or something, but I don't know if they could do that.
Do you remember near the beginning of Snap, they had these like, I don't know, like really weird Flash websites where you could
that
like
goofy, yes, that thing that you used to go on and you used to see, okay, you've done so much of this, and your little bar goes up on the side.
Yes, it was a community thing where it's like, if you play this much Storm, you all get the Storm variant or whatever it was.
Yep.
Yeah, those were janky. I'm hoping what they're saying with this is that it's like it'll be similar where you can work towards something in like a, I don't know, like a bigger way, but it's not going to be as janky as that. That's what I'm hoping for anyway.
They failed miserably. When I saw that, and I didn't notice it right away. It took me a while to actually notice that thing. And then when I saw it, I'm like, what is this? And I remember looking at it like, okay. And you were right. It looked like something out of an old PC.
Yeah.
The graphics were so bad. And then you're like, what am I supposed to do with this? And yeah, that was really, okay. All right. Yeah, you're probably right. I could see that happening. But yeah, let's hope that that's better than those.
Yes, let's hope.
They were really bad. Selectable card effects. Again, down underneath this, they have selectable borders, which we'll go into next. But what are you thinking on? What do you think selectable card effects is? Do you think you can control like what? I don't know, like the effects that they use.
I listen to a lot of podcasts too.
Okay.
And I was curious myself because it sounded like you could choose the border color and then you could also choose, whether it's animated or if it has a crackle.
Okay.
But really what it seems like is you select a variant that you already own, like a split.
Yep.
So you have your Kirby crackle and you can select the border color and that's it.
Okay. Okay.
So I think it's not as customizable as they make it sound here.
Okay.
It's from what I understand. Yeah, you choose a variant that you already own, and you can select the border on that.
Yeah.
So you can still split it as many times as you want after, and it won't affect that. But yeah, a little less exciting than I initially hoped for. But I can understand from a business standpoint why they'd want to make sure you still get those splits going.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't make sense to have the stuff like that unless like boosters and stuff would kind of be useless if you could continue to do that yourself.
Yes.
So makes sense. And that's going to go hand in hand, obviously, like you just said, with the selectable borders. And then, I mean, I know there was a data mined background, a space background. I think that somebody data mined it.
I did see that. I did see that.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm looking forward to that when that happens. New infinity splits. So again, that's going to go along with the card borders and the effects. And now we're going to get a new split as well. So that's kind of cool. Yes. Collectible reactions. I'm guess again, I don't know. I'm kind of like, what are they talking about by collectible reactions, do you think?
Well, okay, so this sort of leans into the character mastery thing, I think, a bit. I think this is what they were talking about with like replacing the little second in your onion when you react to things on the board. Mm-hmm. I am really excited for it, but again, it all depends on implementation because we've seen before some things sound really cool on paper, but they're not always executed in the best way. Yeah.
Well, this is all the coming soon stuff. So hopefully, I mean, who knows? We could see this really anytime, I guess, I mean, in the next month or so, or next big patch they
I'd
do.
say, yeah, usually when they say coming soon, it's like in 1 to 2 months.
Yeah.
I would say something like that.
Yeah.
So
That makes
not
sense.
too far from now.
So, and in development, I know a lot of people were pretty excited about clans.
Mhm.
So, especially, I got a lot of excitement feeling from a lot of the content creators I watch, which I can see that. If you're a
Mhm.
creator and you've got people watching your streams and stuff like that, you can have interaction with your groups that are watching you.
Yes.
And hey, join my clan. I'm going to have a clan out there. Let's go. So that I can certainly see. I've never been part of, I mean, I guess the closest I could compare it to would be when I played World of Warcraft and we were in a guild.
Yes.
Similarly to that is where my thinking is. I've never really played anything with clans in any other game that I played or any other card game that I played. I played Magic the Gathering back in the day, and that was that's a single player game. And some of the newer versions of it aren't now, but I didn't get to play those.
Yeah.
But what do you make of the clans thing? Is it something that interests you?
Well, I think I think it's always going to depend on the execution. We can only
Yeah.
speculate about these sort of things.
Yep.
But from what it sounds like, I'm hoping it's more of a casual thing. You referenced World of Warcraft guilds, but those
Yep.
got pretty intense,
They
right?
did. Oh
If
my
if you didn't
gosh, they
show up to
did.
your meets, you were
Oh, I
you were letting
know.
down your teammates.
Yes.
I hope it's nothing like that. I hope that it's all a net positive kind of thing where
Yeah.
it's just if you contribute, you get more rewards instead of no rewards. That would
Yeah.
be ideal for me.
Yeah.
I also think that I mean, my only experience with a sort of guild system is with Apex Legends, which is a
Okay.
first-person shooter, if you believe that.
Yep.
But in that system, it's not really a rewards kind of thing. You just sort of track your wins and sort of like a badge of honor to show things. So
Gotcha.
I don't know. I think if it's casual in the sense where you can just join one and for contributing you get a little out of it, I think that would be great for Marvel Snap. Any excuse to get more currency in the hands of the players
Oh
is one
man.
I'll take.
Yeah, absolutely. Gold is so hard to come by now. Gold and tokens and all that kind of stuff really, really hard to come by. We could probably spend an episode talking about an economy because Glazer and I talked about it, and it's rough. It's hard out there. So any way they can do that, yeah, you're absolutely right. And as far as the Warcraft comparison, oh my god, dude, I so know what you're talking about. I was a main tank in the guild that I played in, and I had to be there. It was like they would literally give me a schedule. All right, you were going to do this on this day, this day, this day. You got to be there at 7:00 at night, and we start here, and you're going till midnight. I'm like, all right. I'm like, I've got a job. I can't be doing this. Like, I'm not getting money for this. I can't be doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I love the people that I was with. They were great people, but it just got to be a point where it's just like, I can't do this. This is like fun for me, not a job, and I just can't keep doing this. So I get you. Did you ever play World of Warcraft?
No,
Okay.
but I had both my mom and dad play a Final Fantasy Online game that had a sort of similar system.
I'm familiar.
Yeah. My mom is actually a gamer, which is really great for me.
Cool, yeah.
But yeah, she explained the horrors of having to like do so much in that guild just to stay on top of things.
Yep.
And I imagine for World of Warcraft it's similar. I've heard stories of that.
I'm a big RPG guy. I always was. I like games that tell stories. So, and when you said Final Fantasy is one of my favorite games ever. I remember playing the original one on the old NES back in the day. So I love those. I'm excited for the new one. The new one, Final Fantasy VII, I think Rebirth comes out like next month, which super excited about. Had 2 Blu-ray discs and 120 plus hours of content. I'm like, oh my God, where am I going to get the time? Like, I don't have time enough now to play this, let alone sitting in front of a video game system for 120. Yeah.
That's honestly how I felt about Baldur's Gate. I said, I'm a huge D&D nerd. So when I got Baldur's Gate, I was like, holy moly, I'm 170 hours in and I'm not even like a third through the game. It's insane. There's awesome. Just so many things to do.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely, man. I've heard, I know people have played it. And when they told me about it and all the things they did in the game, I'm like, I have no time to do that. Time to do that. So when did you start playing D&D? That's cool too. I played that when I was very young, man. I was probably, oh my gosh, 15, 16, and dating myself like 1985 or
Wow.
so. So
Wow.
we were playing back in the day. I can remember we would go to a bookstore, like Walden Books back in the day was the name, and we would get the D&D sets, and they would come
Yes.
with a Dungeon Master's manual. I was usually the DM, and then you'd go through the campaigns. There was like a starter set, there was an advanced set, and they came in these cardboard boxes. And man, you had character sheets of paper that you would write everything down on.
Yeah.
So I'm going back a ways, but I always loved it. It took such
Yeah.
imagination to play that game, and it was great.
Well, it's interesting too. To answer your first question, I've been playing for about 10 years now.
Nice. Okay.
I started when I was about 11. My mom, she played it when she was younger, so she saw that fourth edition came out,
Yep.
and she wanted to try it with us, and it was a blast. And I've been hooked ever since. But
That's awesome.
I don't know if this might pique your interest. I know that you might have moved on by now, but they did just release. I actually have the book here. They got a Marvel role-playing game that just came out.
Oh, I have seen that. That's cool.
I am-
Is it similar to it?
It takes a lot of the same concepts, reflavors a couple of things, and add its own spin on things. I gotta say, after reading through it, I am so excited to play it. I have big plans for next month to stream a game with my friends. It's gonna be a blast. I'm really excited.
That's really cool, man. I think they brought it back into prominence too with Stranger Things.
Oh,
with the
yeah.
kids that were playing D&D and Stranger Things. I'm like, oh yeah, that's awesome. I loved it because you'd spend an afternoon. My friends and I would be out on the picnic table in my lawn in the backyard in the middle of the summertime, and we're sitting there and we're playing. And before you know it, it's dark. And our parents are like, "Get in the house!" Yeah, it's so much fun. It was like literally the game that I played that was the most fun thing. And then they put out a board game. It was made by, I think it was made by TSR. It was called Dungeon, that we absolutely loved as well. Fantastic board game where you literally go around, you'd roll characters at the beginning, and you'd literally walk around the little map, and you'd go into areas, and you'd fight creatures and stuff, that you pick up a card and whatever creature is on there. But it was very similar to D&D. There were traps that you'd roll for and all that kind of stuff. And I remember playing that with my friends back then too. I may still have that actually laying around somewhere, and I bought it in the 80s as well. So that's awesome. I love the history and how it's so great to see. Like we're now, we're older and we're playing games like this, but coming from the same place. I love that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool to me because to sort of relate this to Marvel Snap, it's the whole nerd section of me that just really dives into stuff like this. There's always something cool to find when there's a community of other nerds just like you.
Yep.
With D&D in particular, I started the D&D club with my brother at high school, and as far as I know, it's still going. It's still going on, which is super cool to hear. It's a great time. And then of course with the Marvel multiverse thing, I'm gonna be slamming my two nerddoms together. It's gonna be awesome.
You'll have to let me know how that is.
Absolutely.
That looks like the Marvel tried that way back in the day. They tried a role-playing game.
Yes.
I remember that well as well, because we were looking into doing that, but they made it really, really hard. The instructions of it were very, very difficult to follow. And I remember, this would be awesome. You can go, but I think, and that led me into, I think, my love of RPGs and stuff too, because you had a game called City of Heroes that came out maybe 15 years or so ago on PC. I want to say there's still servers out there that people still play it on.
Wow.
And it was great. It was very similar to you'd make your own hero. You'd customize the abilities. If you wanted flight, you wanted super speed, you want to go through kind of all of that. It was really fun game to play. You design your own costume and stuff like that. So yeah, I dig all that stuff, man. I am geek culture, nerd culture, whatever you want to call it. I am a proud one. I am a proud one.
Solidarity.
Oh my gosh. Love it. Absolutely love it. All right. So we got, collectible borders we already mentioned. Booster vats. I'm kind of guessing that's do we need more boosters? I mean,
it's one of those things where it's like, if I want boosters, you know what I do? I throw all of the cards that have no synergy with each other, and I just go in Conquest and play a couple games.
Yep.
That's the way I get boosters. That's my booster vat. But I don't know. It seems like they're gonna do a similar thing to the character mastery, where you have to complete like challenges in order to get stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, and if that's the case, I don't know that many people are going to deal with it, because it's like you and like myself, I don't think it's going to be something that's going to hold too many people's interest. I don't know. Maybe, and I guess sometimes, I guess, as players that are well past the beginnings of this game, you kind of maybe tend to forget the people who are just coming in. So maybe
Yeah.
people that are just starting, right? That are, that are in Series 1, Series 2, Series 3 area, that really need to get certain cards boosted up. Maybe that's a good thing for them. And maybe that's what they're maybe thinking of here. I don't know. But otherwise, if that's not it, I agree with you. I don't know that this is going to attract too many people's attention. More event types is what they list here next. More event types. I'm not too sure what that could mean. More event. Well, I guess I don't know. Maybe like you said before, like weekend missions, or
Yeah, I was also thinking, Twitch events are something. Maybe,
okay, yeah.
maybe more of those. That would be really exciting.
Oh,
Obviously,
hey, listen, it's free stuff. I'm down for that. I'm
yeah.
down for that.
Maybe they're talking about like maybe something like the Conquerors event, or maybe they're talking. I guess again, the wording here is always so vague. You can only guess what they're trying to say here. But I would hope that it's something like that. Maybe more community events. Maybe more events in their own Discord. I know that they have one. Yeah. And I think they do occasional things in there, like maybe art contests, if I recall correctly. But
I have seen those in their Discord. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So maybe some more community events like that.
You could be right. Could be Twitch drops and stuff like that too. In fact, I think now that I think about it, I think Twitch drops are starting again. I think I did see that. So I think that's this week. That might be in a day or so. So keep your eyes out. I think it's another variant like it was the last time, and a variant. I think, what was it? Gold? Was there gold, or was variant boosters? I think for the variant, and then or for the card. I can't remember. But
it was like an avatar, some boosters.
Yeah. So I think that's starting again. So just make sure you check with your favorite streamer for that.
Oh yeah.
And then they have an in-game graveyard. This interests me.
Oh, thank goodness is what I say.
This is, and I really hope, because again, I don't play this much on PC. I'm sure I'll probably start doing that if I ever decide I want to stream, but I don't play it much on PC. I'm usually on my phone or on my tablet. That being the case, if I'm playing against people that are playing with deck trackers, that's a very big advantage. And I'm sitting there, and I know people are saying, they'll tell you online, well, you could kind of keep track in your head, or you can have a little piece of paper and stuff. Yeah, sure. But then you're fumbling around with a paper and a pen trying to figure out, okay, this card is here, this card is here. I think that's cool. And I also kind of think that maybe that signifies something that similar to Magic the Gathering. Maybe we see more cards that have what they call graveyard manipulation, where you can maybe pull a card back or something along those lines. Kind of like we've seen some locations that do it, right? The one location that revives all of your destroyed cards and they all pop up there. So we've seen it, but maybe they'll do that more in the future.
What interests me is like we have a lot of cards in Marvel Snap that do like one thing. Phoenix Force right now is the only card in the game that allows you to bring back something from your graveyard.
Yes.
Right. Ghost Rider and Hela bring stuff back from the discard.
Yes.
So it makes you wonder, like, well, maybe is there like a Hela incoming, like a Hela that revives all of your dead cards? That would be an interesting thing to see, maybe.
Yeah, that would be cool.
But I don't know how strong or how balanced that would be. So I don't know. It's an interesting idea that they would find it important enough to include it. I know for me personally, I do wish that they had sort of something similar in Hearthstone, where on the side they had a little set of icons that showed you, like, okay, in case you missed it, these are the sort of steps that just happened. Yeah. This is how this card got here. This is what happened to this card. So I'm hoping we're moving towards that. This gives me hope, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. This next list is in concept. Now, this could be months to a year. God only knows.
Or maybe not at all.
Or maybe not. We might not see any of this. That you're right. A new game mode. So I'll ask you, what would you like to see? I know what mine is. What would you like to see as a new game mode in Marvel Snap if they came out with it?
See, my gut instinct says draft. I would really love to see a draft
Yep,
mode.
I
I was
agree.
a huge fan of Arena in Hearthstone. It was
Yep.
like my go-to game mode. But what makes me nervous about that is I don't think that they let you do it for free. I think it would be something similar to a conquest system where you got to earn it or you got to pay for it, if I had to guess.
Yep.
So really what I would love to see is a dual mode, like a team mode.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
where you could maybe like do like I want you to imagine for a moment, imagine a tournament, but it's teams of two, and they actually like were on the same team, and they did like I don't know, maybe more board spots. The options are limitless. I'd just be interested to see
Yeah.
what they cook
Yeah.
up.
Like add more locations, like add five, like have 4 or 5
Yeah, yeah,
locations
yeah.
in it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it'd be cool. Yeah, I hear you about the draft mode. That was my pick too. I
Mhm.
would love to see that because that really kind of evens out the playing field. Now again, a lot of it's RNG and what the cards are that you're going to get, of course, but I agree with you. I think it is good. They will make you pay for that. There's no question about that. You're gonna. I know when I went back to play because I played Magic the Gathering years and years ago. I played it. Oh my gosh, unlimited set. So after alpha, after beta, like the third set that came out when
Wow,
you're playing
wow.
it. Yeah. I mean, oh my god, I wish I had my cards. I sold them back in the day, and boy, am I
Oh,
sorry I did.
oh, the misery.
I had a beta Black Lotus.
Oh my gosh.
Literally a beta
Oh
Black
my
Lotus. That
gosh.
card goes for astronomical amounts of money.
I mean I don't know a ton of things about Magic, but I have heard of the prices of the cards like that. I
Oh,
mean it is bonkers right now.
it's sickening. A friend of mine that we used to get because I played in a few big tournaments. We used to drive to I live in Pennsylvania. We used to drive to New Jersey, so we drove a state over to
Oh
go to
oh
tournaments.
wow.
And we would play in some that were like at the time they were $10,000 grand prizes and all this kind of stuff. And we would go and what I would do. It was funny because back then nobody wanted the old cards; they wanted all the new ones. So when you'd go to like a dealer or somebody is selling cards, they want the new stuff. So I'd buy a box of the brand new set. I'd get a whole bunch together and I would take them up there and they'd be like, oh, I'll take this one, this one, this one. And here, you can have all these old ones. So I ended up with like, he had a set of, they call it the Power Nine. They were 5 stones in essence. They very much look like Thanos stones. They were all different pieces of jewelry. They had a Black Lotus, and his cards were what they call beta. So they had black borders. So they're the
Oh
second
wow.
set ever made. He sold his set of cards for his down payment on his house. Now
Holy
that
moly.
was 25 years ago, probably. Now, when you look, and he just ran into me in a mall at one point and said, "Have you seen what our cards are worth?" I said, "I don't want to look." And he's like, he shows me on eBay. He said, "Joe, we would have been millionaires." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, dude, that's insane."
I mean hindsight is 2020 with that, right? I
It
mean
is. Well, I mean, you're never gonna know. That's true. I mean, you're never gonna know.
right, right.
But Matt in Magic, and I played Arena, so I've got online and just played it, messed around with it a little bit. And I got in a draft, and like you were saying, you've got to pay for the cards. So, and
Mhm.
again, you go through it, and it was fun. But again, it's so much RNG that if they're gonna charge a good amount of money for that, it's like, what are you going to get out of that too? Like if your collection complete and you have every card, that's not helping you in any way. It's not like those
Right.
cards are going to add to your set. So if you're just going to play to play or to pay rather to play a game of draft, yeah, I agree with you. They're really going to have to watch with that, or else it's not going to catch on. It's not going to interest a lot of
Yeah.
people.
I don't know. I have a little bit of confidence. I mean, so far we have 3 game modes in Snap, right? We
Yep.
have ladder, we have friendly
Conquest.
battle, and conquest, right?
Yep.
So those have been pretty good, all things
Mhm.
considered. I think conquest could do a little better on the reward side. I feel like it's pretty
Yeah,
grindy,
I agree.
but for what it is, I think that it works pretty well. So at the very least, if we're putting the baseline at conquest, I'm hoping that it's pretty good. I'm hoping that's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would agree. I think all 3 of them serve a purpose. And some people love ladder and they like to see themselves in that rank and they want to build on the rank now and everything like that. Some people just want the conquest because it's a little more laid back. There's not a whole lot of stuff with them. But you're right. The rewards could be a little better. I think maybe the card is cool to go for every month. I think getting when you have a lot of points at the end of it and they end up translating to boosters, I think is kind of crappy, to be honest. I think they should
Yeah.
give you a little something better
Yeah.
for the work you did. But anyway, Clan competitions, we talked about clans before. That's going to be just clan versus clan kind of stuff like that. So that's cool. Ultimate variant evolution. Now this has been mentioned so many times.
Well, and they keep changing the wording too.
They do.
But you continue.
Yeah, no, they do. And I'm not really confident that anything's ever going to come of this. I have some of them. I have the Iron Man, which looks spectacular. When you those look amazing when you split them. I don't know if there's any real difference with them, but the graphics on some of them are just outstanding. So they do look really cool, but I don't know what they mean with evolution and what they're going to do with that. I don't know if it's ever even going to happen. But do you own any Ultimate variants? Do you have any of them?
Let me think. I was so close to buying the Ghost Rider one, but
the Ghost Rider one looks cool too. Yeah,
I actually really like the Max Grek one, like so much. There's beauty and simplicity. I don't think I've bought any other. Right now, I have the Jane Foster one pinned because I heard that Beta Ray Bill is coming out, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe if I like that deck, I'll think about it. But I mean, 5,000 collector's tokens is really expensive right now.
It's a lot.
It's a hard bargain. It's a hard bargain.
Yeah, it's a lot. I bought the Thanos one back in the day because the Thanos one's gorgeous, and I got an ink split like on that one, and it's outstanding. But yeah, they are. That's a hard sell, especially now when tokens are so rare. Definitely for sure.
Well, and some people have even pointed out, like, what is the point of these when spotlight variants are sort of like the same thing?
Right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was just another way of doing stuff, I guess, but I don't know. And I don't even get a whole lot of them showing up in my shop anymore. Some of them are the same repeats over and over and over again. I keep seeing the Typhoid Mary one in there. I keep seeing the Angela now is one that shows up a lot for me and stuff like that. So they kind of constantly repeat. So I don't think there are even that many of them out there. So I don't know. We'll see. That may be something they may just end up forgetting about somewhere down the line. And then the last one on the roadmap is called New Card Mechanics. So what's your take on that? What do you make of that? What do you think that could be?
If I had to guess, so when Kitty Pryde first came out, she broke the game.
She did.
She just destroyed it. She would crash, your game would end. And the reason why is because they don't have the technology in the game engine that they're using to really promote that kind of play. So she was changed into the one that we know and maybe love now. So I'm wondering maybe if that's related to that. Maybe they're going to upgrade their engine, maybe allowing for more stuff. Because if you remember too, that interaction with Multiple Man and Phoenix Force has been a bug for months.
They finally fixed it.
Yeah, so I wonder if maybe they're thinking like, this code is a little messy and we're not getting exactly what we want out of it. So maybe we're going to open the doors up for more. That's the most I can guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be. The Kitty thing was crazy. Did you play Kitty when it was broken like that?
No. I was like, you know what? I'm going to wait for the streamers to do it. And I'm actually kind of mad that I didn't get the card because it seemed like so much fun for those 2 days.
It was a mess. It was a crazy mess. The few times that I got to use it, it completely locked the game and I had to restart, come back in, and then that whole process of where you have to wait a half hour before it resets itself. It was a mess. And I remember seeing a couple of streamers. I think I was watching Regis. It was either Regis or Mold. I don't remember, but one of them was playing it, and it was insane. And I'm like, there is no way they're going to leave this card like that. But it could be right. Maybe that's exactly what they're looking for. So
I suppose too. Do you think that maybe they're talking about new keywords in Snap? Right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Because I mean, we have like discard, move, destroy. You're a Magic player. Do you think that there are other like avenues we could go down?
Oh man. There were, talking about graveyard manipulation, there were always in Magic zombie decks where when a card quote unquote dies, you'd be able to bring that card back. If it was marked as a zombie, it could come back from your graveyard. So you can have maybe stuff like that. I don't know how that would fit in though to Snap because it's really more of a horror kind of a thing. But there's that kind of stuff. There was definitely a lot of lockdown in Magic. Magic had a lot of lockdown. There was also location destruction. They had a land destruction deck where you just destroy your opponent's lands that you had or that you'd use for mana in the game, which kind of really all you have with that one is Galactus, and then the lockdown too, where you could just lock players out of the
Right.
lane.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of any more. There were. Magic also had stuff that they call burn decks, where you literally could use a card to just to take points off of your players. Well, see, players had life in Magic. They each had
Right.
20
Yeah.
life. There were ways you can attack a player directly with a card without, like, you'd play a card and it would attack them directly and take points right off of them without even. So I don't know. Do they make maybe weapons for these characters?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like can you have like a Captain America shield where you play a shield and then he the shield effect takes out one of their characters on the opposing location, or a Human Torch fire blast where
Sure,
something
yeah.
like, you know what I mean, like maybe
That would be, see, it would be an interesting shift in the game, right? Because right now every card is a character, right?
Yep.
So I don't know, maybe if they're thinking about like expanding the options for card making, that would be interesting. I was trying to think to myself, like, are there things that we haven't seen yet?
Yeah.
You know what we haven't seen is maybe like a reverse Mr. Fantastic, like you put a card down and you minus locations power
okay.
for your opponent. That I
Okay.
haven't seen yet.
Okay.
What else is there? Maybe like this might lead into something interesting too. There are certain cards in this game that they had to print a certain way. Like Quake, originally the reason that they wanted her to be in the middle location is because they wanted to give you a choice of whether her effect activated or not. Which is a really backwards way of doing it because they don't have the technology to like add a button, for example.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering maybe if that's another thing too. But at this point, it's all speculation. So could be anything.
Yeah. Well, that's what these roadmaps are really all about, right? It's just about speculation and about going, getting excited about things that are coming up and stuff that they're going to be doing. One quick thing I do want to touch on with you. I know, and what I talked about this a little bit with Glazer, but I'd like to hear your opinion on it too. So we got that announcement. A lot of people were getting a little nervous, and I mean, I about the game itself, because they were saying a lot of people are moving away from it. Content creators are not doing it anymore, some of them, and thinking to themselves. And then you hear that announcement about the Newverse thing, where Newverse is like, okay, we're not doing games anymore, and people got a little nervous. I'm sure some of these content creators that do this full time would definitely be getting a little bit nervous about that announcement. But then we recently saw the announcement that said they got a ton of money. They got a lot of money, so it looks like it's here to stay, which is a very good thing. I don't know if you remember this. I asked actually Glazer about it too. I played a card game, a Marvel card game, some years back. I want to say 9 years or so ago. It was called Marvel Battle Lines, and I remember it very, very, very much because I liked it. They put it out right when the MCU was kind of in full force. You're getting close to Infinity War, like right around that time was when the game came out. And it was basically like it was a card game, but you're playing almost like on a board that's almost like tic-tac-toe. You line the characters up in lines, and whichever lines you complete would then attack the other characters. So it was very, very unique kind of game, but it was a money grab. Nothing but a money grab. I mean, blatant money grab, and it lasted a little over a year. I can remember when the first Black Panther film came out, they were going to do a Black Panther set. The next thing you know, they're like, nope, we're done. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, and then you invested your time and in some cases money into these things, and poof, just like that. So I wanted to ask you, what is your take on let's call it the state of Snap? Do you think that this, with the money now that they got, the licensing that they have, and I guess you could say, a lot of people's opinion, even, and not necessarily that I share it, but a lot of people's opinion, even about the MCU right now, is kind of a little down. So do you think that this game has lasting, that it's going to last? I mean, mobile games come and go. And now we're starting to see too, where Ben Brode himself has said that he's going to start working on something new. And then we saw, I think another person just left there that was working on it. Rian, I think is his name, Rian. I could be wrong. But I saw an announcement where Ryan that he is now moving on to something else. So I don't know. Like, what do you think of that? Like, what do you make of it? Do you think that this is going to be around for a bit?
So, in terms of like mobile game experience, I have to admit I'm pretty limited. Before Marvel Snap, I'm a pretty casual mobile game player.
Mm-hmm.
What I will say is, and I'm going to try to translate what I can from the experience I do have, which is with Overwatch. Overwatch is a team-based first-person shooter.
Yep.
I had a great relationship with that game. I loved it to death. I have over 1,400 hours in it. But Blizzard made some very money-grubbing decisions, and it really hurt the trust of the player base to the point where, I mean, now they're a fraction of the size it used to be. That being said, what gives me confidence that Snap, as long as it has money, will continue is Overwatch is still going. There were players like me that felt pretty burned by the whole experience, but you get new players who find enjoyment in the game in their own way. And as long as it's free to play, there's always going to be a market for that, right?
Yep.
I think if I had to give an estimate, I'd say this sort of thing should raise concerns, but ultimately, as the consumer, the best thing you can hope for is that they don't ruin the experience for the free-to-play players. That's it. If they ruin the experience for the first free-to-play players, then you basically drop the game. Yeah. So as long as they keep that intact, I'm fairly confident. Really, the biggest hurdle to that right now is the Pool 3 collection system for those guys who are like months in at this point, trying to get through the cards. So I don't know. If they introduce a system to help catch up with that, I'd honestly feel a lot more confident.
How would you fix Pool 3? Just curious. If you were working for a second dinner and you're like, hey man, we got to get this fixed because this is not good. This experience is not good. It takes these people too long to get through. And then if they leave the game for a little bit and try to come back, forget it. They're way too far behind. So what would be an idea that you might have that you could fix that?
So, you know what? I'm just going to copy from Hearthstone here. Hearthstone, when you don't play the game for a while and you come back, they give you a big welcome back screen, and they give you some packs. They show you some of the battle pass levels. They get you accelerated in that. So I would assume if there was a catch up mechanic for returning players, I'd like to see something like that. I really would. Something that's like, hey, thanks for coming back. Here's a bunch of stuff. As for the people that are going through it right now, I would say double the rate at which the Pool 3 cards appear in those caches. I mean, we got to give those Pool 3 players something. Yeah. If they want a new card and they get boosters, that might be the last straw. You know what I mean? Like, if they're already 3 months in, and they're like, gosh, I really, really, really want, I don't know, Lady Sif. Yeah. I really want that card. She's going to really unlock this archetype for me. But I've spent 4 months in this game and she's still not here. That might cause them to leave. And we can't see the numbers, but we can only assume that it's going to get to a tipping point at some juncture. So if I were in charge, I'd say, double the rate in the collector's reserves to get new Pool 3 cards. And give a welcome back acceleration sort of deal. I think those are fairly easy to do. It's just a matter of whether or not they're willing to implement it.
It's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good idea. I went and created, just out of sheer curiosity. I saw a streamer do it. I think it was TLSG that I saw do it. He started over. And he created, he started from, brand new. And I thought, you know what? Let me try to do this but I'll tell you what, you can really feel the pain. If you go back and you start over, and he went all free to play on that account, and that's what I did. I'm like, okay, let me see how this works out. And you do like, I even on, in series 2 and starting series 3, you're already seeing when you're playing, especially on, you're playing on ladder, or if you're playing, really in higher conquest mode, and you're coming up against these decks you just can't beat. Like there is just nothing you could do. Like here I am sitting with a makeshift Wong deck that I didn't have all the pieces for, and I'm going up against these killer meta decks. It's like, forget it. You have no chance. And it's really not fun to do. Like I remember when I first played ladder, when I first started, it wasn't as bad because a lot of people were in the same boat you were. But now you're trying to get up in levels, and you're going to be lucky if you make it out of the 20s and 30s with the way the setup is.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I can certainly see that. I miss him, by the way. I liked him doing it. I liked his streams. I don't know what happened to him. I hope everything's cool with him and stuff like that. I wish him the best and what he's doing, but I liked his streams. He was pretty good.
Yeah, no, I love TLSG. I think that he was doing some really great content.
Yep.
I assume that he just had some personal stuff.
That you run into things. It's hard. To keep this stuff going, but
as I absolutely feel what you're saying because I have a friend. His name is Daka. He's the one that got me my new computer, and he's the one that does things for the Infonaut podcast.
Okay,
wonderful guy. But in order for him to catch up. Where I was at this point in the game. It took him like 3 months, and it also took some money. It was not, it was not cheap to accelerate that collection. So if you just want to test out the game, you're not really going to feel really amazing after you get through that pool 2 section. I will say for onboarding in the game, Marvel Snap is one of the best. I mean, the first couple experiences of you getting cards, it makes you really excited. But yeah, you're absolutely right. When you reach that threshold, when you're meeting up against decks that are tried and true, that have these newer cards that are only found in the series 4 and 5, maybe. It can be tough sometimes because even if you get those cards through the spotlight keys and stuff, you might not have the right pieces in that deck that are from pool 3, and those are much harder to come around. So
they are.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I've heard this from other streamers too, talking about cleaning up tier 3. And I think you're right. I think that's a big thing that needs to happen. If they really want to keep players coming in, keep like fresh blood coming in, not just the people who are already hooked. I mean, you've got those people, they're going to be around, but if you want to keep new people coming in, I agree. They really have to do something about that new game mode. Cause I'll tell you, when you started earlier than I did. And I remember when I started, it was fun. It was fun opening those packs and all that kind of stuff and seeing what you're going to open the caches and see what you were going to get and everything like that and adding to your collection. It was just fun to play, fun to do. Now it's now knowing that you see all this other stuff going on and everybody else having all this stuff, it's not as much fun as it used to be. So I agree. Yeah, absolutely. Well, all right.
Yeah.
Going to move on, and we're going to talk about you and I were talking about comic books earlier, and I want to go over talk about these variants, man. These comic book variants, dude, are fire. I have a couple of them here. This one, oh my gosh, this is from a comic book from 1974. Which is insane. I remember this cover, and I'm like, now I know I never owned it. This was even too young for me. I was too young.
Oh, sure,
for this.
sure.
Okay. Yeah, but I remember seeing it, and then I'm thinking, was this one of those booking records as well? Werewolf by Night did have one of those. Like I was talking about the Man Thing one earlier, but this was not the cover from that. But the Marvel Comics Group logo that you see up on top there with the number of the comic is from they call it the Bronze Age. So it is from the 70s.
Yes.
So this is amazing, man. I love this. And I wasn't gonna, when I saw it in the cache, I'm like, yeah, they just nerfed this card. Why would I want this? But when I saw it, I'm like, yep, I have to get this card. What do you think of these comic book covers, dude? I think this is tremendous.
I mean, it's a genius move. First off, I mean, there are just so many comic covers, and they already have a couple in the game, but they don't do it in the same way as these ones, where it feels like your card is a comic book, which is just so cool. I really adore the attention to detail and keeping the original art as it was. I mean, you can still see they had to crop the lighting on the edges there. I mean, it's incredible. It's also a great business decision, right? For nostalgia purposes, but also because of how unique these cards are in comparison to some of the other arts.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely, man. I think these are absolutely tremendous. I'm a gold border fanatic too. I don't know why. I love the gold one, and I usually stop there. I very seldom ever go past gold border. I don't know why that is. I just think it looks cool on almost everything. But man, these are exciting. And then of course we have, and this one, I didn't read this book. So I had no idea this was a comic book cover. It absolutely is.
Yes, yes.
Howard with the Infinity Gauntlet. I mean, oh boy, you know that's a barrel of laughs, and of course that's Adam Warlock that's laying underneath him. If you didn't know,
yes.
I did not read this book. I'm gonna probably have to now because I don't know what the heck went on here. But again, this was another one. I'm like, why would I want a Howard the Duck variant when he's just not good? Which is a shame. I hope they rework him somehow or do something with him because when he first came out, I was super excited. I'm like, oh man, I can plug this into a Galactus deck with him and Iron Lad, and it's going to work amazing. Nope, it did not. It was just not good. So what do you think of this one? This is crazy, and it doesn't do justice to it. If it was the actual 3D, you'd see that sparkle up on top of the glove and stuff like that coming out of the card. But this is an insane one.
This is contender for number one on the Howard variants. I mean, I would consider the Noir one pretty up there. I love that Noir variant.
Yeah, I do too.
But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I'm honestly sad that I didn't go for it. I'm saving my spotlight caches right now. But I will say in the shop, I did play with it in the little preview menu, and holy moly, I mean, if you want to be talking about mythic variants, this is pretty close. It's pretty amazing. And I agree with what you said. I think there is one legitimate use for Howard, and that's in Spectrum lists because he's an ongoing 1 cost. But yeah, other than that, it's like, there are probably better options.
Yeah. And some people, you're right. Some people don't realize that some of the other cards we already had are comic book covers. My favorite Spider-Man is the black suit Spider-Man. Which was drawn by Todd McFarlane. That's from a book called Torment, was his #1 issue of the Spider-Man that he did with him in the black costume and the webbing behind him. So if you have that, that's a comic book cover. Some of the other ones that Art Germ does has had comic book covers. The Mystique I've seen on comic book, but so there are a lot of these out there. The one I'm most excited. Well, you already know this, the Galactus one that's coming in 2 weeks with the that one I owned. I had the book. I know I did. I remember the cover very well with the Fantastic Four. That one is from I want to say 78. It is 77, 78, but I did own that one. And then of course, I think the king of them all is the Infinity Gauntlet one, the Thanos Infinity Gauntlet book, the Infinity War book. Oh my gosh. But these look amazing, and I hope they continue this. Obviously, they've got the rights to them, or else they wouldn't be able to do them at all. So I hope this becomes a thing because I think this is awesome. Can you imagine someday having an entire deck of comic book covers?
Man, that would be so cool. That would be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this, so I just wanted to chat about it a little bit with you because I think this is so cool, and the variants are so really cool. Let's talk really quickly about the new card. So we have a new card coming out tomorrow. It is Miek. I had a chuckle because some of the other content creators that were doing this were like Miek. And I'm sitting there going, it's Miek.
It's Miek. Yeah, it's Miek.
And you listen, and not everybody watches the movies. They don't know necessarily maybe who this character is. And if you saw the films, right, and you saw Thor Ragnarok and Korg and it's, this, I'm cool, this is my friend Miek, you wouldn't probably remember maybe him even talking about the bug-like creature that he used to hang around with. So, but I thought it was kind of funny. What do you think Miek's going to be like, man? I mean, obviously, shout out to Drew Barry. I love Drew Barry's how he goes over the new cards, how he talks about putting them in deck. He does an amazing job with that. I watch his show all the time when new cards come out. But of course, this is a discard card, right? Now, discard can use some love, especially after the loss of Chavez. I'm talking basic discard. Now, like you were mentioning earlier, Black Knight is definitely out there, and that's a good deck. But traditional discard, you're talking about Dracula, you're talking about Morbius, you're talking about MODOK, and you're talking about Apocalypse, right? So traditional discard with Swarm and all that in there can use some love. Do you think Miek, as it stands, and this card's going to bounce around whenever something's discarded, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm not looking at it right now, but it gets a +1 every time it bounces around, I think is what it is?
So I think you'll be happy to know that this card actually, I've heard some clarification on this. So basically, let's say you play Modoc and you
Yes.
discard your entire hand.
Yep.
This will gain 6 power and then move.
Okay.
Um, so
Okay.
so initially they had the idea of like, oh, well, every time you discard something it gets +1 and moves. But then there was this
Yes.
weird Craven deck that was made, and it was a little scary. It was a
Yep.
little scary. So they changed it up, and in terms of my opinion on it, I think that it's a really nice addition. I mean, when you think of one costs in a traditional sort of Modoc style deck,
Yep.
you're really only getting maybe Blade and maybe like, I don't know, a Nebula. So I think that this is actually a much more reliable way for traditional discard to get a little bit of power on the board. And some other people have pointed out too. It's like a nice little tech against locations like what do you call it? Sanctum Sanctorum. Like
Yes.
the way I imagine it is, I'll like when I look at my traditional discard list, I'm probably taking out Wolverine and just replacing it with Meek.
Yeah. Yeah, that would make sense. And yeah, you're right. You're playing traditional discard, and you really have no access to those. Like if you get a Sanctum Sanctorum, like you said, you have no access to that. You're losing that lane if they have a Jeff, unless you're playing one too. But
Right. Yeah.
most of the times in those decks, you don't. Discard's getting a lot of love next month. There are a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
cards that are going to be in discard decks
Dude,
next month.
the next month scares me, if I'm being
Yeah,
honest. Next month is
and
pretty scary. It's pretty
there,
scary.
it looks like there's some cards that are broken.
Oh yeah.
More than one card that are broken in that. And even March, when we went over the March one last week with when I went over it with Glazer, there's some cards that look like they're broken
Oh
in
yeah.
there too. Which again, we don't know if that's how they're going to release, aka Firestar not ever coming out. But
Yeah.
we don't know if we're going to see that. But yeah, I mean, and the cash is decent, or the caches are decent, right? If you're opening for caches and you don't have a Nihilus is still good. He's still
Yeah.
in a lot of decks. He's a 5/6. He lost a little bit of power, and you can't use him with debris anymore. But that really wasn't the deck he was in anyway.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
Phoenix Force, which you mentioned Phoenix Force earlier. It's a, now that they got rid of that little thing, that mistake with it couldn't move around, and the multiples couldn't move around. It's a decent. It's hard combo to get, but it's a decent deck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, also he's not coming out as a Series 5, correct? I think he's a Series 4 card.
Yes, he's a Series 4. He's a
Yeah.
Series 4. So if you want to use your tokens on him, that's definitely the week to go for it.
Yep. Do you like this card? Do you play this card a lot?
I'm a huge Ghost Rider fan, and speaking of comics, those were some of the first comics I've ever read, and holy moly, that was a hell of a one to pick. I love Ghost Rider decks. So when Black Knight came out, I was like, oh my gosh, finally a deck for me. But in terms of traditional discard, I actually really like Dakin decks. I have a very greedy one that I run with Absorbing Man. So you can go Dakin, Absorbing Man, then you go Modoc, and the Dakin gets huge.
Blow up all the multiple shards.
Yes.
Yep.
So I would think that in terms of this card, I'm probably getting it. I think that it's a better pick. I think right now I have Sunspot in that deck just because, sometimes you get an awkward curve, but this seems way more consistent in that, as long as you draw it before turn 5, that's an easy like 1/6, which is, pretty hard to come by.
Yeah, absolutely. My favorite Ghost Rider card is, I have the Robbie. Do you have the Robbie Reyes variant?
Oh yes.
Oh, dude, with the car on there, that looks intense. That was one of the first variants I think I ever got, actually. So yeah, that's awesome. Did you ever see the movies?
Oh yeah. The ones with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
I mean,
the first one was good. The first one was okay.
I was about to say the first one I'd give like a 70%. It was all right.
Yeah.
It was fine, but oh boy, I don't know what to tell you about the sequels.
Robbie Reyes was in Agents of Shield, the TV series, which was actually pretty decent. Yeah, it was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I'm sure they'll bring him in a movie at some point. They're going to bring him back.
Fingers crossed. I'm thinking it's got to be in a Doctor Strange movie or something.
Doctor Strange, or like if they ever come out with the Blade movie, he'd kind of fit in with like Blade in that universe too.
Cool. Cool.
There have been so many rumors about casting for him. People were saying Norman Reedus because of Walking Dead and how he rides bikes. People mentioned Keanu Reeves. I'm like, okay, I can kind of see. He's a little old now, but I can kind of see what the Johnny Blaze kind of look to him and stuff like that. So he's a great character. Yeah, I always kind of loved Ghost Rider, and he's been around for a while too. I can remember 70s books with Ghost Rider in there as well. So
Yeah, I will say I do like Robbie Reyes, but I'm just such a huge Johnny Blaze fan.
yeah,
There's a part of me that's like slightly nervous that they're going to try to get Robbie Reyes in the MCU before Johnny Blaze,
maybe.
which is fair. I wouldn't be disappointed. It's still Ghost Rider, but
Yep.
Johnny Blaze is a like a, I don't know what you'd call him, like a not antique, I guess like a Bronze Age sort of
He is.
character,
Yeah.
right? Like a stunt man that sold his soul,
Soul to the
like
devil.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Like that's a very timeless kind of story, but
Yes.
I can understand why they want to modernize it. I mean, I think
Yeah.
have they done that in the MCU quite yet with any of their characters? I don't know.
Um. ah,
I mean, I guess with Ant-Man, right? I mean,
yeah.
Ant-Man,
Yeah.
because like the original Hank Pym is sort of like a secondary character in those movies.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Very
yeah,
true.
I would
Yeah.
imagine if I had to guess, if Ghost Rider was getting in, it would be Robbie Reyes because they've also pushed that in the Midnight Suns game. If you've seen that,
They have. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That's true. They have. With the Secret War thing coming up for them, that's going to be a cool point where I think you're going to see a lot of new people and new characters and stuff brought in.
Yeah.
So I think, I think it's definitely going to happen. I mean, he's such a big character in Marvel that I think it'll definitely happen. And whoever they decide to get to play him, I think will definitely come to pass. All right. Well, we're getting upon almost an hour and a half here. So listen, man, I appreciate your time coming out with me tonight. This was a fun discussion. I really enjoyed it. So any last thoughts from you before we head off? Well, definitely, first of all, tell the guys where they can find you, where they can find your content. Let them know so they can check out your stuff.
Yeah, so I'm everywhere at Kiernimbus. I primarily do Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter, or X if you're an Elon fan. I also just released a new content schedule this week, which I'm very excited to hop on. So you'll be seeing a lot more of me. And yeah, this was a genuine pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. Anytime. Well, that's going to do it for this video, guys. My thanks to Kiernimbus for coming out with me tonight. This was awesome. I absolutely loved the discussion. Hope you guys all enjoy the video. Please be kind to one another out there on the socials. Like I always stay safe. And hopefully I will talk to you all again on the next one. Stay tuned on my next video. It will actually be Prashan is joining me for a chat. So that'll be awesome. So join me for that. That'll be next week. Comes out actually will be next Tuesday, and then my card review and stuff on just the audio portion will come out tomorrow. So I'll talk to you guys all soon. Have a great one, and we'll see you all in a little bit.